Thanks for joining us this Sunday for What Matters This Week. I'm Lauren Maloney. Joining me now is the new mayor of Winooski, Kristine Lott. Appreciate you being here, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
You kind of had a bit of a different campaign when it came to reaching out to voters in the city. Explain to people what exactly you did and how you decided to campaign in this past March.
Yeah, so I made the decision to run for mayor in December, shortly after the previous mayor announced his early resignation. And after speaking with my husband and some family members, really decided that the best way to get the word out in Winooski is face to face. We're 1 square mile. We're very dense. I spent all of January and February going door to door, essentially. I think that I knocked on doors on every street in the city. I didn't get to talk to every resident, but made an effort to do so because we still are, we may be a city, we may have that urban feel, but we still are really kind of a small town, neighborhoody place to be. And I think that person-to-person connection and word of mouth is still, that's what Winooski is about. So I thought that was the most important way to get my message out, is to actually meet people and talk to them face to face. Besides the going door to door, I had a couple of events in local businesses and put myself out there to reach people, and it worked. I think it shows that that's still what matters to us, is actually personal connections.
What was the underlying theme, or if there was one main issue that you were told time and time again from people in Winooski?
It circles around development and housing. So there's concern on one end about not having enough housing and housing that's affordable. There's also concern about the rate of development and how that impacts us having kind of that small town and neighborhood feel. And then also concerns around property taxes and maintenance of infrastructure. So it's all part of one big conversation about where are we putting our resources and what are we prioritizing
finding
as
a balance.
we grow. Exactly.
Okay. That said, let's talk about some of the other things that passed on town meeting day. The $9.7 million bond vote for the parking garage on Abenaki Way. Let's get an update on that.
Yeah, so the parking garage, 9.7, you have the number, $1 million bond vote. I want to point out that is funded through actual parking revenues. That's not a property tax impact.
Okay.
So that bond passed. We will start engineering, and we expect to start construction on that next year in 2020. That garage is going to support some existing obligations downtown, as well as the development of a new hotel. We're excited about the hotel as well.
Where's the hotel going?
Right next to the garage. So
Okay.
This is all behind CCV, next to Cassavant.
Sure.
The hotel is exciting. It adds more vibrancy downtown, brings more people into Winooski, and also will help capitalize on the local options tax that passed. So 1% tax on alcohol, meals, and rooms. When those rooms are added to the downtown, then we'll see some increased revenue, which I think is great as we try to diversify revenue away from being solely funded by property taxes for our operations as a city.
When you talk about putting a hotel in Winooski, is it difficult getting people off the interstate to find Winooski? Because most of the time it's, okay, we've got to pull off and stay the night somewhere. It's easy off of Williston, somewhere in Burlington. Is that something that might be tricky when it comes to getting people to Winooski to realize where you are and having them stay and put money back into the city?
It's something to consider. I think this hotel is meant to be like a boutique hotel that kind of appeals to younger folks. So I think it offers something that maybe just a roadside stopover doesn't. It could attract a different group of users. We're also working on some wayfinding in the downtown that will make it easier to locate parking, to locate businesses and things that we have around. So I think once you're off the highway, that can help people find where they're looking for in Winooski.
Will the parking garage also help when it comes to people who already live in the city? Because, they talk about issues too when it comes to, finding parking just to park for the night and park for the weekend. Is that something you hear a lot as well? Yeah, the parking is an issue in every city, right? Yeah. The reality in Winooski is that we actually have sufficient parking right now, but it's distributed in a way that's not working for people. So the new garage will add
inventory, which is great as we're growing as well. You want to stay ahead of that. I think the space in that garage is going to support a lot the hotel, CCV, the My Web Grocer building, so more of those like business users and some residences down there, which will actually open up space in the existing garage that's right downtown. Part of the wayfinding that I mentioned is also working on the signage within and around that garage, because that's a thing we hear too, is that it's just not easy to even use that garage.
Okay, interesting. Very good. Let's talk about the pool, because this passed last August, and it seems like we haven't heard maybe a lot about it. I guess there was a meeting in December where there was a project or a plan kind of presented to City Council.
Sure.
What are we seeing when it comes to the pool? You know, I imagine this summer it's not going to happen either, but looking out in the future, what are you hoping for?
Actually, very exciting. At our next City Council meeting, we should be approving the final design and bond vote that we are going to move forward with. So there has been a group of really dedicated residents that have been working on fundraising for the pool. We worked with them to set a goal that they would raise $300,000 towards the cost of the full design. Preliminarily, I heard that they have met that goal. They're going to confirm for us, and then we will move forward with, you know, this is the funding situation, so that we can start construction this summer, ideally be open potentially the end of next year.
Okay.
You know how construction goes, though?
Was July, maybe August next year?
Yeah, somewhere later than.
I know a lot of community input when it came to blueprints was taken into consideration, because there are children and teenagers who will go to this pool who also had their parents who used to go when they were younger as well. So what were some of the major wants, so to speak, when it came to putting a plan together for the new pool?
I think the biggest thing, and the one that surprised me actually, you know, my husband actually and his family members have used the pool throughout the years. Previously we had a basic competition pool that was laned and used for part of the day for the actual swim team, then part of the day open swim. But so what the resident desire is to have two separate pools. So we'll still have that competition pool, but also a smaller, low-grade entry one that is easier for the young, for older disabled folks and people who are learning to swim. So having those two separate facilities.
Okay.
There's also a water slide in the proposal, which again obviously is appealing to children. And what we heard from residents is they believe it's something that, you know, families from out of town might come to use, and so that's another way to bring in revenue from outside the city for this important resource.
When it comes to housing, anyone who drives through Winooski can tell you that in the past year there has definitely been new housing complexes and developments coming in, mixed use, because there's some businesses as well. And then on Route 15, there's also a new development going in. So there's a lot more. Is it fair to say there's more emphasis on housing, and are you hearing that it's working?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a statewide initiative to add housing. We have, particularly in Chittenden County, we have a pinch on the vacancy rate and the inventory. So I think we're lucky that we're seeing that growth in Winooski. I certainly hear very frequently concerns about there being enough housing that's affordable across the income spectrum to all of our residents. The development that you mentioned on East Allen is a true mixed use, so there's low income, middle income, even some transitional housing in partnership with COTS.
Okay.
And so that satisfies one of our goals to add more housing inventory, but making sure that we're not just adding space for new folks, but we are maintaining places for our existing residents. It's part of our master plan and a lot of our guiding documents is having housing that's affordable to everyone in the income spectrum. And these new projects are helping us meet those goals and continue to ensure that there's space for everyone in Winooski. It's been a few months, maybe up to 6 months in some instances, when it comes to those two new housing developments right off of Main Street. And some of those have businesses that are you know, trying to obviously build new clientele as well and coming in that way. What are you hearing in terms of those
housing developments right now? Are they meeting a good enough goal that you hoped?
I don't have the specific data there, but from what I gather, they're full or near to it.
Okay.
There are residents living there. The businesses appear to be succeeding.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any complaints from those business owners there. And you bring up a good point too, that's also part of our community vision, is having more of that, having more commercial as well along our gateways, and trying to kind of expand beyond just our core downtown. So that building on Main Street is particularly an example of success there.
Trying to make it easier to walk more for some
Yes,
people.
we are definitely, that is our vision, is to have a multimodal, a walkable community. That's something I heard about from a lot of residents when I was going door to door. They love,
Because
one of
it's
the
so
reasons,
small.
Yeah, one of the reasons they love living here is that walkability, that small connected feeling.
Okay. Let's talk about, it's almost summer, so let's talk about the summer. What does Winooski have going on? Per usual, I imagine the farmers market will be back.
Yeah, the farmers market is returning. That's launching in the next couple of weeks. We have the Winooski Wednesdays. There's a concert in the Rotary Park, actually, the famous Rotary of Winooski.
Of course.
We have some interest from there's a local bicycle coalition that's interested in setting up a little a cycling event that educates folks on street safety. We've got Green Up Day next weekend. Well, that's everywhere, but we have our activities. We have a Public Safety Day coming up, which is another family event that brings out families to meet with our public safety staff in a bounce house. Waking Windows, of course.
I was going to say, yes, I was trying to
getting
figure
something
out
big.
the time on that, right.
Yeah, Waking Windows is coming right up. We're excited about that. That's our biggest event of the summer.
Yep.
3 days of, they've expanded, I believe, some of the locations, so more of the area businesses are participating in that. So there'll be a ton of bands coming through for that. I think potentially next year, the year after, when the hotel is open, that can be a good partnership there for people who are coming here for Waking Windows and having a place to stay.
Very good. Okay. Mayor, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
And we'll be right back on What Matters This Week.